Talks with T and Shez.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing today? Oh my gosh, it's so lovely, don't you think? Honestly, the weather, Shez, has been phenomenal, don't you think so? I just love sun. It just makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel, yes, I've made it. The sun's here. It makes me feel good.
It's not even just that makes me feel good. Even the most dustiest, old, broke-down looking shed looks amazing in the sun. I'm looking at my shed in the garden.
It does, doesn't it? Hi, Vicky. Hi, Vicky. How you doing? We love you. Oh my gosh, it's been so lovely. The weather's been phenomenal.
I really enjoyed it.
I think we're going to have a pretty good one this year, it looks like, because next week's going to be good as well.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks I've been looking, it's looking fantastic. Yeah. So, you know, personally, because I'm not necessarily in a 9-to-5 job, I generally get to see the weather in a different way. I think for those people who are going into an office and they tend not to go outside and they tend to miss out, I don't think English weather is that bad, as what people make it out to be. Yeah. It's balanced. I actually prefer it because at least here, you get all seasons. So we're not just hot all the time. It's not raining all the time. It's not cold all the time. It's what it is. And guess what? It gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
If we're talking to people from England, actually, we talk about the weather.
Do you know that people normally will be like, oh, the weather's so bad, but we've got something good to talk about that says, oh, the weather's really nice. Vicky says, I'm not feeling the humidity though. Vicky says you're not feeling the humidity.
Oh man, you just get yourself a fan. Just get yourself a fan. You'll be fine. No, guys, welcome to Limitless Talk with
T and Shez.
How do you forget to say your own name?
I don't know. You know what I mean? You have to start praying for me, guys. Listen, guys, you know, it's one of those things, you know what I mean? I go, T. Yeah, oh, I'm T, yeah.
Every time. So guys, welcome to Limitless Talks. We really hope that, you know, whatever we said today, which will be a blessing to you, that we're a Christian organization. So I use that term blessing in the holistic way of the word. We also are here just to empower you, just to give you a little bit of something which you probably haven't thought about, a little bit of nuggets, just to keep you going in everyday life. Because reality is we are in this world and there's many things that we have to negotiate and navigate to be able to cope. We're not an island. We have to coexist with other people. So as Limitless Talks, that's all we're here to talk about is our everyday lives. Now, here we will try to keep a very broad idea and a very broad vision, a very broad thought pattern with regards to the topics that we're talking about. However, we are mindful that these sometimes are unique to our understandings. And we're going to encourage you, if you hear something that you have something that you can input on, put something in the comments, write something down so you can engage with us, just so we have an even broader view of what's going on out there in everyone's mindset. So this is a conversation primarily for women. However, guys, you're welcome to join us and have a listen in. I love listening to men talking and get an understanding of what men think and their thought patterns. And I think it's important that men also listen to women talking so they can have an understanding of where we are and how minds are, rather than us just assuming, because that seems to be a thing that's going out right now. And that's a conversation for another day. But yes, T, would you like to tell them a little bit more about the organization Limitless?
Okay, so Limitless is an organization that is geared towards empowering, enabling, and equipping women to find themselves, and young girls as well. We've got another side to this, but we haven't really developed every single area. We've got a massive vision. getting you to understand who you are, getting you to be focused on the things that you need to develop, the things that you want to achieve. A lot of the times we live in a world where we're around people, different types of people are around us, and different types of people, we attract different types. I was in no, I'm not going to talk about that yet. Anyway, we've got different types of people that are surrounding us, and people can either be a positive influence or a negative influence. However, it's our choice as to what influences we're going to allow to move us from one dimension to the next. For me personally, I like a person that helps me to multiply, that helps me to develop better, that helps me to increase on what I'm doing. And so Limitless is about that. That's why it's called Limitless. We've got a website, Limitless Global. You can go on the website, you can have a look at what we're doing. We do conferences on a yearly basis. We haven't done this year's conference yet, just because there's a few glitches. But don't be deceived. We are getting there. We're going to be doing stuff. And also, Limitless, we endeavor to give you the opportunity to know who you are, to develop your thought pattern, understand your image, and understand who you are, not who everybody else thinks you are. This world gives us an idea that, oh, well, this person thinks you're this person thinks you're that. Who do you think you are? Do you know what I mean? You really don't need to let people influence who you are. You need to be in tune with who you are as an individual. And we develop that by doing seminars. When we do our conferences, we do seminars and different things to try and get you to understand and, you know, develop yourself and be motivated to be the person you really are, and not the person that everybody tells you you are, sticking into a box. Yeah, we don't need to do them things. We want you to come out of your box and be yourself. So that's Limitless. But with that in mind, listen, guys, we want you to like, share, subscribe. Come on, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been getting quite a few views on our Facebook. We get more views on our Facebook than our YouTube. But we really would like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Guys, as well, so that we can get some good views on there. It'd be nice. YouTube is yeah, anyway, forget that bit now. So I'm going to go on and I'm going to introduce, we've got a lovely young lady here today. As a matter of fact, she's very special because she's very close to me. And she can say it if she wants to, but she's very, very close to me. Love her dearly. She's a woman with vision, insight, and she has an idea of the things that she wants to do. She's always very tunnel vision with what she's doing amidst all sorts of obstacles that have come her way. But she's a fantastic young lady with a vision, and her name is none other than Michelle Thompson. Yay! Let's welcome Michelle. Hi, sweetie. How you doing?
Hello, Michelle. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've had a busy morning, as you can imagine, but I'm here and I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, really good. Say that again, Michelle.
Yeah,
that's better.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Yeah.
second time.
Talk a little louder.
Yes, please.
Yes,
just
please.
talk loud. So just talk like you're trying to talk to somebody in the next room.
Oh, wow.
So when we're doing that, release going to be nice and clear, and then people will definitely hear us over the airwaves. Okay, Michelle, we're going to get started because reality, I know you've got a lot going on right now and things that you're doing, and we really want to make sure that people hear about that. But before we get there, we're just going to ask you a question we ask everybody that comes on as a first-time guest, and that is, what 3 words would you use to describe you?
Okay, so I had a little think. I would say integral, passionate, and motivating.
What was that second one, sorry?
Yeah.
Passionate.
That's, okay. Yeah, like I said, you're going to have to shout, Michelle.
I know.
Have you noticed?
Integral, passionate, and motivating.
Yeah.
Lovely. That says a
Yeah.
lot. That says
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
does. Yeah, yeah,
So what do you
definitely.
do, Michelle?
So I'm a social entrepreneur. I use tools, models, techniques and resources to increase learning and around social issues, hence social entrepreneur. And I support the increase of social impact and social change while earning an income and supporting other organisations. My passion is working.
Oh,
Oh, she's gone.
technical problems, guys.
Yeah, so it's in a
My
little
passion
bit.
is working with
You're back.
and can you hear me?
You just went in and out. We literally
In and
missed
out.
the whole part.
Okay, shall I just say that again then? So I'm a social entrepreneur. I I use models, tools, resources to work with other social entrepreneurs, mostly around social entrepreneurship and social entrepreneur well-being. My passion is sexual health and relationships. I love working with Black women around social change, increasing impact around social change. I also work with businesses and organisations in terms of helping and developing personal growth and business growth all around social
Okay.
change.
Well, I want us to break that down a little bit. Now, I know quite a bit about
Okay.
social entrepreneurs, but I'm thinking there's going to be a number of people watching this thinking, huh? What is that? So can you explain what is a social entrepreneur?
So basically, an entrepreneur is somebody who is creative in the way they come up with products and services to generate income. So a social entrepreneur does exactly that, but we work within social change to do it. So, for example, it might be around crime, it might be around sports, it might be around drug and alcohol, it might be around disabilities, but we use our skill sets and our resources to build an income to support the change for people in those spaces, as well as ensuring that we have a livelihood and a lifestyle of our own that is sustainable. So it's all
Wow.
about
Brilliant.
sustainability.
So
What I say
yours
around is
specifically,
sustainability.
yeah, so
Say that again.
your specific area is what's your area of social deprivation which you're supporting?
So mine is sex and relationship education around it's predominantly around young people and children. However, I work with the adults. So when I started out, my original career, I started out in youth work practice, and I specialised in sexual health and relationship education. And coming towards the end of my kind of working with young people directly, I wanted to work more with parents and adults around some of these challenges and issues, because what we find is that you can work with children and young people across the board, but the reality of it is they've got to go home. So I set up an organisation that allowed for practitioners to engage with parents more and adults that were in children and young people's lives, so that the information that they were getting was from home as well as in the local establishments that they accessed, whether it be school, youth clubs, peers and friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's really, really good.
reality is a really topical issue at the moment because of
Yeah.
Isha on last week who was talking
Yeah.
about certain areas around again the counselling side in terms of supporting young people and understanding about their appropriate touch and so on with perpetrators. And I suppose in a way, even in the schools with PSHE program, there's a new program that was introduced a couple of years ago, but however was made mandatory that sexual health and health and relationship was introduced in schools. And I know, was it last year or just before the lockdown, there was a lot of protests about what was being taught. And especially questioning what is appropriate. There's a lot of taboo, and I suppose there's a lot of lies which are going out about certain information which is being taught to younger children, especially. What is your thoughts around that? Do you feel like it's too young to teach children about about sex?
I think it has to be age appropriate. Definitely, context should be age appropriate. And in terms of how it is taught in school, it is all age appropriate. So when you hear that young children as young as the age of 4 and 5 are learning about sex, that's totally incorrect. What it is they're learning about themselves and their bodies. So, for example, by the time a child is 6, they should know that a vagina is a vagina and a penis is a penis. So they should have a clear understanding of the appropriate language for their bodies. And
Right.
that is so that if anything is happening, or there is a perpetrator, or they are being touched inappropriately, and that might be an adult or a child, they can tell a fellow adult exactly what it is that's happening. They're not using words like flower. They're not using words like Willie. They're using words that because Willie could be a name of someone. They're using words that actually are appropriate to what is actually happening and what is going on and their bodies. They also learn about personal space and what is their own bodies. So who should be touching them, who shouldn't, where what's for them and what's for others, what's inappropriate to touch for somebody else, what's an inappropriate touch to somebody else, and what's inappropriate for somebody to touch them. Those are concepts that children and young people should know, that children should know before they start school, because they use toilets. There are blind spots in certain areas, whether that's at school or at home. You can't be there. You can't have eyes on children all the time. So it's appropriate for them to be able to articulate themselves really well using appropriate language, so that when things do show up or flag up, they know what it is that's actually happening, and or it gives them more confidence as they get older to not feel that they can't ask or they can't share or they can't talk about certain things, because as families at home or relationships they have with certain teachers at school, it becomes somewhat normal in terms of their progression to have conversations about their bodies and what's going on with their bodies and what's happening. So I do think it's necessary for it to be in school, but I also think it's even more essential that the parents have access to the exact same information. So when it goes home, it can be appropriated for culture, it can be appropriated for lifestyle, and that there's a clear balance.
Yeah. You mentioned that you work predominantly with just making sure, with Black women.
So I do a lot of work with I run an organization called The Lounge, and we do a lot of work with Black women. That's mainly around a space for professionals and practitioners to come together, share best practice, look at lots of different social issues. We're currently doing a couple of things around sex and relationship education. That's our current topic at the moment. We did a few bits around mental health a few months ago. But that space is about allowing Black female practitioners to have a space where they can talk a little papa sometimes, or they can be themselves, their authentic selves, in a professional space that they necessarily wouldn't be able to do or be in a generic training space in their field of practice or at work. The importance of that is that when you're at work and in your practice, it's about being able to be who you are and know who you are. So when things do happen in a workspace or at home, you are clear on how you would deal with it as a person in yourself, as opposed to how you might deal with it based on how somebody else deals with it at work that doesn't look like you, that doesn't sound like you, that doesn't have the same cultural values as you, doesn't have the same upbringing as you, doesn't understand your home life, your family life, your community life. But actually, when you then go into those spaces because you've been somewhere that reflects you, you can feel more confident and comfortable in just being who you are.
I've personally been to the Lounge myself, and I think it's a real phenomenal event. I remember when she first started it, and it is a real a tribute to business women, Black women in particular. And even when you were doing the talks, when you were interviewing the men, I remember that you used to call my husband to come and do it for you as well. So
it's about diversity.
Yeah, and it was really very, very much a productive place. You get professional women being there and seeing what women are able to do. Do you know what I mean? Which is something that it's a very community place as well. It's quite relaxing. It's like, you know, there's a chill out, there's music in the background. It depends on where she does it, but it's all very different. And I must admit, I really did enjoy coming to them. I couldn't make some of them later on, but I think the first good few ones I was at, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere, the women that I met, and it is quite empowering as well. Just meeting these other women in different spheres who are really professional and know what they're doing. So that's the lounge. But the other thing that you're doing right now is the oh dear, I forgot the name. Sorry, you do the lounge and you do.
Oh, and I work with social entrepreneurs.
Social entrepreneurs. What do you know? This the one with the social entrepreneurs. What does that come under? What's the name of that? Have you got a specific name, or is it still under the lounge?
Oh, no. That's called, sorry, that's my consultancy. So I run a consultancy. I do so many things. I run a consultancy called Learning in Action, where I work with practitioners, professionals, and social entrepreneurs in order to develop the idea of social entrepreneur well-being through facilitation of practice and learning, and also working with practitioners and professionals around what is like best practice. So I develop and I design training programs for those who work in social environment, in social enterprising environments, to coin best practice, to understand what best practice looks like based on policies, procedures, and ethical practices. Just so that when we're working with children, young people, and in communities, we're using tools and resources and methods and models that are underpinned by theory, as opposed to making it up as we go along.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say, just in today's society, because there's so much statistics out there regarding young people and children, it's important that we do make sure that we do have the right information, not just the statistics, sorry, also the legal side, which some people say, oh, I want to work with children. I've got a passion to work with children. And they might think, oh, it's because I've seen these children on the street. They're not doing anything. But in reality, they don't really have the know-how. They've made an assumption of a need based on what they have seen or what they've heard on the news. Because oftentimes, let's just be real, the news is often going to think of a story and then they just put it out there as if it's like this social norm. And in some cases it is, and in some cases it's not. So it's good that they've got a place to kind of go to kind of make sure they've got the right grounding, so they will know best practice and understand and identify how to home in on what they actually are doing. Because some people just want to do something and they don't actually home in on, and then when you come to the crux of it and you've unpicked it, you're like, you've not got anything to offer. And I think that's also an interesting thing, you've got again, an interesting thing to be mindful of as well. Are you still there, Michelle?
I am. I'm here. I'm so sorry. I'm here.
It's fine. These glitches happen.
So I'm just going to check in with you, Michelle. In terms of everything that you're doing with the social side, and even with all the things that you do in the lounge, and and everything you're doing as a whole, it seems like quite a lot. How are you able to balance everything that you're doing, and also especially talking about your area in terms of sexual health? How does that marry up from a Christian perspective for you?
Oh, that's a really tough question. How do I marry it all up? Well, first and foremost, being a child of God, as a child of God, all I want to be able to do is create positive, reinforced ways of being through the fruits of the spirit. Bottom line.
What was that last word? Sorry, that last word.
Through the fruits of the spirit.
Yeah, amen.
And in being able to, in doing that, it means that I have to embody it, and by embodying it, it means that I practice what I preach. Like, social entrepreneurship is about how do we make a positive impact and a positive difference to the world and the people around us. And for me, if I'm embodying that, if I am being that, then that should be the starting point of everything else that I do. And that is how I do it in a nutshell.
Wow. Oh, hi, Bishop Mark Nichols. Great to see you. We're having a discussion as usual. Thank you for coming online. So I was going to ask you, when you I mean, obviously you do so many different segments of stuff. Obviously your source, as you said, is the fruit of the spirit, right? Developing, embodying that, letting that be part of your key source to moving forward with what you're doing, which is love, joy, peace. Strangely enough, we at the beginning of the year, we did the fruit of the spirit, didn't we? Shez, we were talking about the fruit of the spirit as a talk. So obviously you use that as your tool. But what I was going to ask you was, what was the what's the word? What was the thing that led you, or what was the passion that led you to do the stuff that you do? So obviously you've got the lounge, then you've got the learning in action. So what was that light bulb moment that said to you, you know what, I need to do this. This is what I need to do to help my community, to help those around me. What was it? I know that you've got your Christian side, you serve God, you do, but what was that moment? What inspired you to do it?
I've never had a light bulb moment.
Okay.
I've always had my journey started when I was about 18. And I started out as a mental health nurse. Mental health trainee nurse. That's where I started. And I'd met a young woman who I was working with at the time, and she just kept saying, I just want to be normal, I just want to be normal. But to look at her and to have conversations with her, she was normal. So I decided at that point that I didn't want to work with young people, because she wasn't much younger than I was at the time, who had already been put in the system. I didn't want to work with young people. I wanted to do as much preventative work as I possibly could at that point. I hated the idea of young people being sectioned, or young people being put in jail, or young people. I just didn't. It didn't comprehend. It didn't make sense to me. So I wanted to work with young people before that. So from that point, it's just been a journey of, okay, so I've entered this bit now, and I feel like I've done all I can here. What next? And I've done this. What next? And it's always been a kind of what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? And it's just become a long life passion of how can I support social change.
Wow.
Yeah. I suppose that you meeting that woman and having that conversation was a turning point. I know sometimes we use light bulb, but it was definitely a turning point. And I can definitely identify with you working in the education system with the older children. We were often working at a knee-jerk reaction. So what was being displayed, that those 16, 18, 15, 14-year-olds are things which literally could have been dealt with when they were children. It could have been prevented. And the reality is there's so much that is put in place to kind of scaffold their minds at that age. But reality, there's a lot of unpicking that has to be done, which shouldn't have been there in the first place. So I totally hear what you're saying. Yes, it's the time, because especially in certain arenas, you've only got a certain time slot, so you've got to clock your hours. For one, they're only with you if you're having a conversation. Sometimes half an hour, an hour. You really don't have to, and then that's probably once a week, if that's in some cases. And then you're supposed to develop a whole assessment on seeing that individual for a short period of time, and to be able to impact them in such a way that they've got all the tools to cope, and they don't even have enough tools to cope with the next 30 minutes. They really don't.
Unrealistic,
So I
isn't
see
it?
it, you know, and reality, there's a field and there's a need. So guys, if you're out there and you recognize that you have the skill set to be able to support the systems at this moment, especially when we're looking at society and the mindsets of people, there is so much which is happening throughout the world. No one can deny that we're not in a position right now where there is a need for social change, for social justice in so many different areas. So if it's something that you started to look at and you're starting to pivot, you're starting to really think, wait a minute, what can I do? What can I achieve? How can I achieve this? Then guys, you need to get in contact with Michelle, because it sounds like you're in a position to actually help and to stir you. Some of you are out there right now and you've got a passion. You've got a passion for young people. You've got a passion for all ages. So I'm assuming this is not just people who want to work with young people. This is social enterprise as a whole.
Yeah.
And I know there's actually churches at the moment, they're putting in departments. I know specifically a church which I grew up within, Church God of Prophecy, they have a department for social change. And there's a lot of churches which are looking at social entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurships to kind of making sure that we are part of society. We are part of society. And there's a lot of things in society today which were put in place by the church, schools, hospitals, and many other things. So we still have to be at the forefront of steering this ship, guys, so we can make sure, just like you said, is operating with the fruit, recognizing that we do need love, we need joy, we need peace. Guess what? We need it. The whole world needs it. We all need it.
Exactly.
So it's how do we then impact individuals with what God has given us as our gifts. And this is a gift. What you have is a gift, and it's acknowledging it as a gift. And when you're given a gift, the great thing about the gifts of God is not for us to be selfish about it. It's for us to actually use it, the tools in our hands, and to be able to just literally do what we got to do, guys. Get out there and do what we've got to do. So, Michelle, in saying that, how do people get in contact with you to kind of connect with whichever area? So I'm thinking of the women and I do want to go back to the question in terms of especially the lounge. I do want to go back there in a minute, but how do they contact you in terms of getting the support or getting the advice?
So you can email me at Michelle at the Lounge UK no, that's the wrong email. Let's start again. Michelle at learning Michelle at learninginaction.co.uk. That's my email address. You can go to the website, which is www.learninginaction.co.uk. I'm on Instagram, and that's Leah. So Leah, and Leah's the acronym, and that means bearer of good news. So you can go to Leah, Peace of Mind, and that's at Instagram, and that's at Twitter as well.
Fantastic. And the information will be at the bottom. So it'll be attached to this video in some way, shape, or form. So please make sure, guys, if there's something you're interested in, that you make sure you do connect, because we're no one's an island. No one's an island. And many times we're always trying to do stuff, and we're trying to do it by ourselves. And why reinvent the wheel? If there's a support mechanism and the Christian person who can support you, who has the right mindset, they're not there to steal your ideas. They're here to literally empower you and to equip you to be able to do what you can do, but to have to not just do it at a limited area, but with a limitless mindset. So I think Tia has a question, and then I want to definitely come back to the lounge. So go ahead, Tia.
So just a quick, well, I know you personally, obviously, I'm your auntie. Just to get that out there. But you are a mother of 3 children, right? And you do, I mean, for you, you have a passion to help people. How do you you're a single mother as well. So how do you personally juggle that I mean, the reality is there's so much that you're doing, and you've got 3 children. You're a single mother. Guys, she was married, but she's a single mother. Sorry, I'm just letting you know. She's a Christian that was married. She was married. She got 3 children. Just to get it clear.
I hope you're prepared. Sorry, I hope you're prepared for all of that.
So yeah, we're on the next side of her journey, where she's a mother with 3 children, and how on earth do you juggle it?
Okay, so I am very used to skills you've got, and I have been very blessed with a plethora of skills, and my being a youth worker has totally supported being a youth worker, and having a background in my career of sex and education relationship has totally helped. Also, I've got an amazing family structure and family network, and an amazing friendship network. So as much as I am a single mom, and it is me and my children a lot of the time by ourselves, I'm never on my own. There's always somebody I can pick up a phone call, pick up the phone, make a phone call to.
Yeah.
There's always I can pop round to my mum's if I need to, and my siblings are always on hand. But in terms of how do I do it by myself, I use the skills that I've got.
Yeah.
And I'm a person that I want to practice what I preach. So if I'm out here talking to other people's children and parents and adults about how I believe things should look, and how I believe things should go, or what I understand from certain models and practices, then I should be implementing those things at home, and I do. And I have really, really good relationships with my children from young. So my mum calls my children free children. They're free, and she uses that term because they're articulate in terms of they're allowed to have an opinion, they're allowed to speak their opinion, and they're allowed to hold conversation in terms of what it is they would like, what it is that they don't like, how it is that they would like things to be. I run my house. We are a team in this house. We work together. Ultimately, what I say goes at the end of the day, because I'm mum. What it is ultimately, like there are boundaries, age appropriate boundaries, and mother-child appropriate boundaries, but ultimately we are a team in our house, and we all have a say. We all take part in chores and cooking and cleaning and homework and fun and games. We do it together, and we share our space. So we look after each other as a unit, which actually makes it a lot easier for us to live with each other.
I think even some of the key pointers that you've said is how your children are free children. And I think I grew up in a society where discipline was really the main key factor of our growing up. Which I don't see anything wrong with, but discipline married with being able to speak out and being able to have a voice is really, really, from my perspective, very important for any child, because obviously you're in an area and one of the things you said earlier was that, children need to know who they are from about the ages of 4. They need to have an idea as to their reproductive system, or not, their productive system, what they have on their bodies, their body parts. Thank you very much, because reproductive is from the adult side. Anyway,
it's a different thing completely.
Exactly. I'm adult. I deal with adults. I deal with children.
Sorry, have you got a pen in your hand, Dee?
Yeah.
Have you got a pen in your hand? Yeah, you keep clicking it. Sorry. All I can do is
I can't click. Oh gosh. All right. Obviously, their body parts, and so I've lost where I'm going now. So free children, obviously, they have that. They've been given that ability to express themselves, Does that have a comeback in the schools when they're in school? Because I mean, I'm just like trying to see, obviously this is what you do at home, and then they go to school into an environment where there's this go on.
There's structure. There's a different structure. It does have a comeback, but in order, so it does have a comeback. Yes, it does have a comeback. But what I have done and do is keep open communication with their schools.
Right.
So in terms of my eldest, she is very, all my children go to predominantly white schools. All my children do. And in terms of understanding their culture, understanding the way they might speak sometimes, understanding how they might respond to some things, it's not necessarily something that their schools are used to. So I have built relationships with their schools and with their teachers, and not just from I'm their mum perspective, but from a social academic perspective. This is what literature says. And this is what policy says. So it's not just a case of I'm going down there and ranting and sticking up for my children. I'm actually having very clear conversations with their teachers. For example, when my middle son was slightly younger, I said that he was starting to disengage, and it was a clear indication and it's a clear indication in stats that at the age of 7, black boys started disengaging from the curriculum, from the school curriculum. So when they started to see him withdrawing, and we started having conversations about it, I made it very clear that this is a statistic and a stage. So in order to move him through this stage, what are we going to do about it as me as their mom and yourselves as school? So we kind of build things in around the children so that they can continue and maintain their freedom, but actually they're very respectful in their school environments, because it's not about not having respect. It's not about being able to go and say what you like and do what you like when you like with whoever you like. That's not cool in any way, shape or form, whether you're talking to a child or an adult. But it's about having a mutual understanding and a mutual respect, so that when things do crop up, we're looking at it from the wholeness of the child, as opposed to this is what you should be doing because this is my classroom, or this is what you should be doing because this is my house. Where is the child in that space, and what is going on for that particular individual child that we can do to enable and support them? So that's how I work with my children's schools, in order to enable them to continue to be who they are in the spaces that they're in. If something happens at school and they come home and tell me about it, I'll call the school and address it. If something happened at school and the teachers want to tell me about it, they'll drop me an email or drop me a phone call and let me know what's happened, tell me what's happened. If it's something that they don't feel that they have the skills or the know-how to deal with it. And it's about teachers being honest and saying, I actually don't know what to do right now. And we have that relationship. I will say to them, actually, in this space you got when they're at school, I'm not sure what to do when they bring that particular thing home, regardless of what it is, or regardless of the challenge or the behavior. And we are very open about what we do know, about what we don't know, in our professional capacity and in our just human capacity as people, and our limitations. So that's how I kind of work through that with the children at school.
That's really good.
As much as we talk about the challenges and the issues, we also celebrate their wins. Their schools will let me know about the wins that they've had, because they know I'm very interested in learning and education and development, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. So they'll be at the gate and they'll say, so Nehemiah's done this today, or Shiloh's been able to do this today, or I get an email from Hannah's teacher to say Hannah Lee's done this really, really well this week. So we celebrate. They celebrate with me and I celebrate with them. So I have a good relationship with their schools in order to support their thriving.
Wow, that is really good to hear. Shez,
that's commendable. That's definitely commendable, especially because with everything that you do, I'm hearing somebody who is not trying to drop any of the balls, so to speak, because you've got a lot in your hands. So you've got it as a business side, you know, reality, you have to provide for your household and, you know, everything else like that. But also you are present. So you're there in your family, you're making the time and you're recognizing reality in any kind of ministry and anything that we do. Our responsibilities as mom is first and foremost. You know, you're accessible, and that's what I'm hearing in what you're saying. You're realistic, so you're recognizing your strengths, what you can bring to the table, both from a business point of view and from a parent point of view. You're able to tap into your community, so that means there's not pride. You're not prideful in that sense. You're not saying this is all mine, only I can do it, but you're able to say to that teacher, that member of staff, oh, actually, yes, I see that. What can we do to make things better? And these are all things, guys, the reason why I'm making sure that I'm pulling out and making sure that I'm highlighting these areas, because these are key to supporting us to be able to literally be all that we can be without living with any regrets. Because many times I speak to women who are focused on, oh, I wish I had more time with the children. I wish I spent more time with the children. I wish I spent more time with work. I wish I spent more time doing this and that. I wish, you know, all these kind of thought patterns, and they end up living in a mindset of would have, could have, should have, which is unhealthy, completely unhealthy. But it's having that time to assess, know yourself. You are able to articulate very clearly, I know what I'm good at. I'm actually really good at this. I'm strong in this area. That takes a confident, healthy person. The Bible says it's not giving us a spirit of fear, but power of love and a sound mind. That's a sound mind right there. Many of us only think of sound mind and we only link it to mental health issues. But a sound mind is also down to how we see ourselves. If all we're doing is picking out our problems, yes, that's having some self-awareness. That's absolutely fantastic. But I should be able to walk on the street and speak to any person with a sound mind and be able to say to them, what are your strengths? And as a person, as a woman, we've got to make sure that we're in a place where we can identify them and unashamedly. I didn't hear you saying, oh, yeah, on that, but I've got this going on. I've done this and this. We're always trying to apologize. We're always trying to kind of create something. But no, guys, this is what it is. Reality, we have to exist. We have to get on with life. We've got to do it. I don't know why I'm going on this level. So whoever's out there is like harping on something.
I'm motivating you.
Yeah, we've got to go there. So guys, if certain things are happening, we have to be able to check in with ourselves, because that doesn't come out. That doesn't come out if we haven't had those check-in moments, if we're not self-aware. So I noticed that you mentioned about self-awareness. I was going on your website. So guys, I encourage you to go on the website and check out what's on there, because it talks about all these areas of what it encourages. Before we even start doing anything for somebody else, we have to be able to look at ourselves
in order.
We need to look at ourselves first and kind of say, actually, what do I need to be able to be successful? What do I have in my hands so I am successful? What do I need to gain? Education, do I have to educate myself? Do I need to go and get on these quals? Do I need to go to certain seminars? Do I have to spend certain amount of money? Do I need to get rid of some stuff?
Straight.
And many times we have to do all of the above. But it's important for us to recognize that we don't have to do it alone. I'm mindful that time is going. And I want to make sure that we do kind of, there was so much nugget, especially when you were talking about the lounge area and you were talking about the social space for women, professional women, to be able to be themselves. And my heart kind of saddened with it. And I'll tell you why. Because it's like we emphasizing professional women, for one. It's like we have to justify that these professional women. And it's like, yeah, but there's so many. We should be able to be professional, women regardless. So, and the fact that they can't be themselves in a professional setting, I'm just like, it's an oxymoron. They're professional women. So them being themselves, they're professional. It's who they are. So it's like, if I'm a Christian, if wherever I go, I'm still a Christian. because
Mhm.
I am. If I'm a professional person, wherever I go, I'm professional. Whether I'm that's just the part of who I am. That's my characteristic. So that's part of my character. And so it's a shame to hear that these women in whatever fields of life, guys, you know, whatever your scenarios of what a professional is, I know it's subjective, so I'm not going to pick out a career in particular, but I believe in every single career we do, professionalism is a characteristic. So it doesn't matter what career you're in, I believe that it's important that we are professional.
I
That's
think
my
it's
thought
more
on
to
it.
do. I think why we set up the lounge the way we've set it up is because how I am as a black woman at home is not how I am as a black woman at work. Straight
Yeah.
like that. I'm not going to be pretentious about it. I'm just not. How I am at home is not how I am at work. And when there are bias. We can't deny that there are biases in the workplace. We can't deny that there
Yeah.
are social structures that inhibit us to be who we are as black people in particular work environments and social environments. We can't deny these things. And
Yeah.
what we are able to do at the lounge is still maintain our professionalism, but be a little bit more relaxed about who we are as black
Mm.
people. And that's what that space does, because there are certain ways and beings that you can't take into every work environment as a black person, and that's just the reality of it. So the
Yeah.
space isn't necessarily, it's not a sad place, it's a very, very happy place, a
No,
very
in terms
happy
of when I'm
place.
saying sad, let me rephrase that. I mean, it's sad in this day and age that we're still having to do that. And I
Oh
suppose
yeah,
what I was coming to is, in terms of what we do in the lounge,
yeah,
you mentioned about working with organisations, that how
yeah.
are we steering it to create safe spaces for black women within the organisation? So,
So
so,
what?
so we're not having to, because reality, everybody, whether you're black, white, Asian, whatever
Yeah,
community you're in, there's a level of relaxation at home, which is different when
yeah.
we're in the working environment. That's for everybody.
Standard.
But
Yeah,
specifically here, we're talking about the black experience.
Mhm.
yeah.
So what are we doing with it? Because especially around the Black Lives Matter, I know suddenly organisations were like, I know I was involved in some meetings where suddenly we want to hear the black voices, want to hear what we can do to be better.
Couldn't
So
hide no
I'm
more.
so I'm just kind
Couldn't
of
hide
like,
no more.
yeah, I just want to kind of teasing out in terms of, yes, that's happening in the lounge and those conversations are happening, but what are we doing to steer it into? So there is a level of where you can be yourself. And that's why I says we are professional,
Yeah,
because we are,
yeah.
where we can still be, because we all have a uniform, don't we? When I was working in schools, we had a uniform, and there's certain things you kind of do, whatever like that. So I recognise that. Even when I go into schools now, I still
Mm.
make sure I dress a certain way. And
Mm.
there's going to be a different kind of way, and I'm going to act according to the protocols. But I
Mhm.
should be able to be Sheryl.
You should.
So what are we doing? What are
You
you
should.
doing with the
Right.
organisation?
So I had the privilege of co-designing and lead facilitating the very first Black Social Entrepreneurs program for the School of Social Entrepreneurs,
Yeah,
and it was designed so that Black social entrepreneurs could work together in a space that was predominantly delivered by Black experts. Um, what School for Social Entrepreneurs is a predominantly white organisation and a wonderful place, if I'm honest. Um, and some of the outcomes of that has been that what we're starting to recognise and what we're starting to be able to do more of now is um, be more open about what comes naturally to us in terms of how we speak, some of the word choices that we use, in terms of language, um, in terms of some of the kind of engineering of how things are done. It's not necessarily modelled on what is coming out of the literature and what's out of the books. But organisations and the organisations are starting to become more aware of it and more receptive of not one box, not one size fits all and everybody. I suppose I think the one of the things for me that came out of the program was I went into work. I went into meetings with my hoops in. I started wearing my hoops to work. And that was
Definitely.
that was a big deal for me, wearing my big hoops to work. And another thing that started to happen was every time I walked into a meeting, everybody didn't always comment on my hair, or everybody didn't comment on the fact that I'd changed my hair and I've got a wrap on. Like those sorts of things started to kind of fade off. And it starts off with those small elements that allow for conversations to open up about other things, as opposed to it being about the way you said something, or it came across a little bit aggressive, like aggression in some of our, if I've said something or somebody else has said something in a meeting and they're black and it sounds a little bit, it sounds assertive. It's no longer a case of she's being aggressive, or I wasn't quite sure how to take it. It was just what it was, and it's okay. It's not aimed at you, and it's not offensive. Those are the sorts of things I'm starting to see happening, and it is slow. It is small steps, but it's happening. And the power imbalances are starting to shift, where people are starting to listen more and ask more questions, as opposed to having just an opinion, or I read this and this is my take on it. It's a case of what does that mean for you, as opposed to have them having a say on what it is that they think it is. So those are some of the subtle changes that are starting to take place. And I think having more Black people as experts and practitioners, leaders and professionals in predominantly white organisations and spaces is giving more Black people, young and old, the confidence to be in them spaces and learn the language, be themselves, gain some new insight and understanding on how things are done, adapting and growing and thriving in environments that they possibly wouldn't have engaged in before, just because there isn't anyone there that looks like them, or they don't know how to approach it. But the more we see, the more we hear, and the more we understand from people who look like us, the easier it is to engage in spaces that are unfamiliar. I don't always think it's a white problem. Sometimes we've got our own in-house issues and problems as Black people that we need to consider, think about, and challenge ourselves in. And the more we do that, the more we can integrate, and the better we become at being open about who we are and what we're feeling, because we learn to articulate ourselves amongst ourselves better, and that enables us to do that with everybody else.
Excellent. Well. And is that kind of stuff you tease out as well in terms of creating that space for those type of conversations? Because I think it's so important. In fact, even when you started talking and you gave the information, I knew you as an SSE student or had been in the past. I've been there too. Yes, I did the course as well. So I've been there, done that, the social entrepreneur. Yeah. So yeah, I could hear it, the SSE student in there. It is an amazing organisation, and I was part of those conversations as well when they were kind of like, "What can we do, guys? Can you advise?" I was part of that steering conversation too. So fantastic. And yeah, love what you're doing, and really looking forward to hearing more about what you're doing. And guys, again, get onto the website, check it out. There's so much here that we've talked about that is going on, which I think every woman could benefit from. What do you think, T?
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, when I'm looking at all the stuff you've spoken about, I mean, she's my niece, and I do know where she's coming from. I've been around her for a long time, and she's definitely a very focused young lady. So I know her personally. I know that what she's saying is what she is. And I also know she's had struggles as well to get to where she is. But her vision has always been very poignant. And I want to kind of tag onto that. Vicky just said, that's amazing. We need this in every organization, which is what all the things that you've just said, Michelle. I'm going to bring it we're coming to a close now. I'm going to bring it down to what I would believe biblically kind of makes me understand where Michelle is coming from. You know, there's a scripture in Proverbs 3 verses 5, and it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. And it would seem, even at the very beginning when we asked you that question, you said, well, the fruit of the Spirit is what I really dwell in, and that's what I really use as my source. Obviously that means that you have an element of trust in God, that he's actually directing you. And so what I'm saying to the women out there today is that there is scriptural backing for what she's doing. There's scriptural backing for her path that she's taken. And if you are listening today and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this woman is just one in a million, she may well be one in a million right now, but she's not in terms of where everybody else can go. You can be that one in a million with her. Do you know what I mean? You can be that woman that actually achieves what you need to achieve based on your trust in God, based on the way that you place God in your environment and in your household. The Lord will always direct you. If you actually believe he's your source, he will always direct you. Listening to Michelle and seeing that she's in organizations, she's got an organization which is called The Lounge, which is predominantly for Black women. However, she's in a white organization having impact for those women in her environment. And guys, you can do anything you decide to put your mind to. It doesn't make any difference what's going on around you. We all experience difficulties in different areas and in different scopes of our lives. And we all have to feel is sometimes we feel as if it's just a fight, a continuous fight. And I identify with that as myself. But when we hear a woman like Michelle, there's something that was key as well, Shez, that I was thinking about was both Michelle and Isha are not just dealing with the child, they're dealing with the parent as well. And that is such a key factor to actually progression in the world that we live in and in the body of Christ as well. The church needs to understand this and see that there are things that we need to do as a church, because we realize Isha made a comment last week that abuse is not just outside in society, it's actually in the church as well, and in our homes and in our families. And so we are the trendsetters to make things change. And I would put on you, Michelle, that you're a trendsetter. And I say to you, girl, go do it. Keep doing what you're doing and get out there. Guys, if you need to connect with her, she's website, Michelle, can you just, Michelle at learning
in action.
Jonathan, you put quaction. I mean, somebody put quaction. Well, I probably did it and copied and pasted it to him, and he's done quite. And it's come up. Oh, can we change it to action? Okay. Yeah. So Michelle at learning. In action. Thank you for changing it. inaction.co.uk. Okay. And the lounge, if you want to find out more about the lounge, it's the loungeuk.com. Women, we can start meeting, doing some stuff. If you need to connect with her, can you just give your email out for me?
It's Michelle at the lounge, Michelle at learning in action.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that right. But your website, you've got a learning to action website, haven't you?
It's the same. No? It's www.learninginAction.co.uk.
Okay, great. So guys, there you go. Listen, we hope that you've been inspired today to change, to make some changes in your life, and to realize that even if you have children, even if you're a single parent, even if you feel as if you're on your own, you can literally do some changes in your environment and make it work for you and for the kingdom. With that in mind, we want to say thank you, Michelle, for being here today. Shez, anything to say?
Thank you for having me.
I just have a blessed week. Have a blessed week. Sorry, guys. Don't apologise for the sound quality. I know throughout, I know my face was kind of like this. So we apologize for that in advance. Sometimes technology doesn't always work for us, but I really hope that the messages that have been said today in this session will bless you. I'm going to listen back because there's so much in there which will just empower us to be that limitless woman that God has called us to be. Have a blessed week.
Have a great week. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him and he will do it for you. Bye.
Talks with T and Shez.